Hi, everybody. I'm Denis Potvin. I played for the Ottawa 67s from 1967 through 1973 when I was drafted by the Islanders. May just have been the longest junior career ever.
Throughout your pro career and your junior career, I know you've got a lot of great stories to tell. And you were telling me that you've got a good story about Brian Kilray. You care to share that story?
Well, Kilray was, as everybody knows, is one of the greatest guys. And there was a time I believe it was 1986, where Al Arbor was looking for an assistant coach to groom to take over as head coach of the New York Islanders. We, of course, had won our Stanley Cups by then, and Kilray came in. And we fell in love with this guy. He was terrific. And in terms of communication, in terms of being with the guys, he was a terrific coach and mentor for us for the couple of years he was there. And I will safely say that, the greatest coach in junior hockey could just have easily been a great coach in the NHL had not the Islanders made a mistake. And they went and hired somebody else when Al decided to retire. And I always thought that was a problem. I retired probably a little early, and I probably would not have retired had Kilray still been coach.
That's high praise for Brian Kilray.
Yeah.
Going back to your time with the 67s, what do you think your favorite memory, favorite moment would be from playing on that team?
Well, I started very young playing with the 67s, and one of the reasons was because my brother Jean was also on the team and 3.5 years older than I am. And my father told my brother and Howard Darwin, he said, well, I'm going to let Dennis play, even though he's 14 years old, but I'm not, I want him protected. So every time Dennis was on the ice, Jean Potvin's got to be on the ice. And my father told Jean very directly, and looked at him right in the eye, and he said, if anybody bothers Dennis, you've got to take him out. So my brother Jean had the job of taking on the big guys that maybe try to intimidate me. And sooner or later I said, John, move aside. I'll take care of myself from now on. And then that's sort of how the relationship went. And just to make it a little further, John went on to play in the NHL. When I came to the Islanders, he was also a member of the Islanders. So my brother really helped me move into these new teams quite easily.
As you mentioned, you were 14 years old as a rookie,
Yeah.
and going back, before the 4 Stanley Cups, the 3 Norris trophies, the Calder Trophy, being drafted first overall, what was it like to be a kid and just pull that barber pole sweater over your head for the first time?
Something, I was very, very nervous, as you can imagine. The way it happened is that I came home from school. I was going to Rideau High School at the time, and I was sitting down eating this big meal, chicken and all that stuff. And my brother got a phone call, and it was probably about 5 o'clock at night. The games were at 8 o'clock, if I recall correctly. And my brother picked up the phone, and he turned and looked at me, and he says, yes, I'm going to ask him. And I'm thinking, who is he talking to? It was Bill Long, who called Ja and said, look, bring your brother with you tonight. We're going to dress him to play in the game. And I think we were playing the Niagara Falls Flyers, and I dropped my fork, and I couldn't believe it. I just went and put on my clothes and went to the arena, and of course my equipment was there, and I played my very first game. And that was a pretty memorable moment, how it all happened. I'd been playing bantam hockey and midget hockey at that time, so that was quite a big step and a big moment in my life for sure.
Looking back at that time, now you're a Hockey Hall of Famer, the legendary Denis Potvin. But back then, did you think all this would be possible?
I'll share something with you that kind of stuck with me the whole time I played hockey, junior and pro. After that very first game, Niagara Falls Flyers, the next morning, I think the Ottawa Citizen ran a column and a big picture, and it said, the next Bobby Orr. And I thought, oh, thanks a lot. This is not, such an easy mark, right, to hit. But I had played at 14 years old in the OHL, the junior leagues, and I think before that, the only guy who had done that had been Bobby Orr. So the comparison started at that point, and it sort of never ended because then I went on to play sort of an offensive game, the kind of game that Bobby Orr had shown everybody how to play in the NHL. But that was a very memorable moment. And then again, that time we were drafted at 20 years old. So I had to play my 5.5 years junior, and I never regretted a moment, other than the fact that we never won a cup with the 67s.
Reflecting back on your time in Ottawa, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Well, I tell you, it's the place I grew up. And I've been very fortunate, really blessed along the way, because most kids, at 14 or 15 or 16, when they're playing hockey and they have to go play junior, they have got to move out of town. And Ottawa didn't have a junior team. So I've always had a great relationship with the late Howard Dahan, who was a great man, and he made it possible for me at that time. And again, it was nothing I did. It just happened that he brought a junior team to Ottawa just at the time when I was about ready to play junior. I was very grateful for that and continued all my schooling in Ottawa. And then when I was drafted in '73, I moved away for the first time. So I have great memories of Ottawa and great people I knew in Ottawa and still know right now.
When you look at all the players you played with the 67s, all the 67s that came up in the NHL while you were playing, and that you've watched as a broadcaster, what makes this one of the best junior franchises in Canada?
Well, obviously, Kilray made it a great franchise, and I think Jeff Hunt coming in at the time he did rejuvenated the excitement about junior hockey in Ottawa. But that was at a different time. It was a time when all of a sudden there was an NHL team. When I played, Howard Darwin and the Ottawa 67s pretty much had the run of the show in terms of hockey during the wintertime. There was no pro team here. But I think that, being able to produce players in Ottawa has always been a key. A lot of former Ottawa kids have grown up to play in the NHL. I watched Cody Ceci make that transition this year. That was outstanding, and we're seeing a lot of them who played in Ottawa, maybe not grew up in this area, but played here and have gone on to tremendous careers in the NHL. I think it's a secret in a sense. You got Toronto, you got Montreal. I'll tell you for a fact, I grew up in Ottawa, and when we had to play Toronto and Montreal, boy, were we ready. We wanted to beat those big boys. And I think that kind of competitiveness is what is bred, in the Ottawa Valley.
Thanks, Denny.
All right, my pleasure.